instant thing, right? So now I jump and I hold, it seems a lot higher. Oh, it is a lot higher. I shouldn't say it seems higher, it just frickin' is higher, right? But there's a jump, right? Just a little quick little hit like that, and click and hold. Oh yeah, so we have I'm using a sprite. I don't have an animated sprite, I really gotta bring one in, but capsule collider and rigid body FSM. So the first, we're just gonna set up a very basic get axis. Oh, did that not go in? There we go. And let's set, set velocity, XY. We're looking at horizontal, and that can be X, and then, set velocity. Right here, yeah. Okay, that's 0. Let's use that. Ah, okay. Everything's all straightened out there. All right, so very, very, very simple. 2 actions, nothing to it. And we have I spelled horizontal wrong. Don't know how I pulled that off. You know, I rarely ever spell horizontal wrong for some reason. Spell everything else frickin' wrong, but usually I get horizontal right. So there's that, right? Now we want to add a jump. And there's 2 ways we're going to do this. Well, there's one way we're going to do this, but we're going to add on to it and make it advanced. Get key down. So we're going to get a key, and we're going to do space, and we're going to do jump. So we've jumped. All right. We go in here. What do we want to do? We want to add force. We'll say we can use the X still, but we're going to change the Y. Only we're going to use a variable. We'll make a variable. So our base Y, we'll say, I don't know, 8. All right, now I'm just going to bring it back. You don't normally want to do that because you want to check for grounding, but for this it's fine. So, and what? Why did that not give us anything? You would have thought that would have been something. Pretty sure we have force happening. Alright, well, that's weird. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so over here we're using velocity. Over here we should probably use velocity as well. So we'll keep the same X, we'll use our Y, and then we'll come over here. Now setting velocity, we might have to hold it in that frame for 1 frame. Possibly. Oh, no, it's working fine. Right, so there's a basic jump. I can move around, I can jump, and let go. Now, if we don't want it, so we don't have air control. I mean, like, so we should have a grounding in here anyways, right? I mean, you should always have an FSM of some type and raycast down. And we'll say raycast downwards, distance of 1, store did hit grounded, and we're going to put on a layer mask. We're going to use player and invert it. So we're not hitting, we're hitting everything but the player. Put the sprite on the player. So now I can come down here and do FSM bool test. If you don't have FSM bool test, you can get the FSM and then just test it. I should probably change these. Match the actual frickin' names we have, every frame, and if true, we've landed. Okay, there we go. Now here, because we're doing a raycast, we're going to want to do a little wait, or else it's going to trigger instantly. So this is just to help keep that fluent. Right, so you have this very simple 3 states. You can move, you can jump, right? You can jump, you're going those angles, but I can't control in the air. Now, if I wanted to control in the air, you can simply kind of bring these back in and put them in here, and you'd have control in the air as well. So, how do we control the height of the jump for the button being pressed? Dun, 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 dun. So, the way we're going to do this is I'm going to build another FSM, and in here we're going to take in, you know what, we're going to take a time, and that's going to be an input. And in here, all we're going to do is we're going to get key down, and that's going to be, no, we don't want that. We already have a get key down. Get key. So we're not getting it down, we're just getting the key, right? Space, and that's going to be our jump key. And every frame, and bool test. So jump key every frame. If this is false, we're going to stop adding. Until then, we are going to float add. We're going to add a modifier. We're going to add, I don't know, 20 per second every frame. The modifier, we're putting that as an output, right? So the other thing we're going to want to do is we don't want this start state happening here, because we want to set float value modifier to, we're going to default it to 20. So now we're going to add 20 to the modifier every second, well, every frame per second. We're going to get key and test if we're still holding it, right? So here we can just finish this FSM. And the other thing we want to do is do a wait. And this will also be stop adding, and we're going to use our time. There we go. So now I'm going to save. Jump add. We don't care about that because I'm just going to delete it anyways. And we're going to go into here and we're going to run FSM. And we're going to stick this up here, and this is going to be the jump add. So time, how long do we want this to happen for? Well, let's say 0.5 seconds. And I'm going to get rid of this. No, we're going to hold that. That's going to be our savior. So this is going to be our output modifier. Sounds good? I hope so. So we want to now okay, yeah. We do need to do this in 2 states. So we're going to set velocity in here. That launches us. Now here, we want to add relative force, which we could actually literally just put that in there every frame. We don't need the operator, but we do need to finish, because if we're done, if you remember in here, we have that finish. So if the person lets go, or if it goes for this amount of time, then we can finish, which will come down here. So now what we have, and we might have to modify some of these values, is we can move and we can jump. But if I jump and hold, see how much higher I go? Like obviously way excessive, but right, way excessive. So let's change that. Let's bring this down to 5 and take this down to well, we still want this one pretty high, but the start value we can drop off a bit, I think, or vice versa. We'll, right, so I jump and I hold jump, and I'm still holding jump, but it'll only go for that length of time, right? So I can control it, and as I go, right, I can jump side to side, I can alter these things, you know, and but it all depends on how high you want to jump now, right? Because now, right, we could, said there's different things we can do here. We could, you know, give this thing a little higher here, but maybe let's take this down to, you know, 7. Okay, cool. And maybe for timeline, maybe we're only going to go 0.3. But we got to make sure it's high enough that we don't, it's not an instant thing, right? So now I jump and I hold, it seems a lot higher. Oh, it is a lot higher. I shouldn't say it seems higher, it just frickin' is higher, right? But there's a jump, right? Just a little quick little hit like that, and click and hold. Obviously much higher. So there's a nice jumping on time by using an FSM. So one of the other questions, and this is another way to use these things, is let's go with something like this. Let's build another FSM. Let's go in here and let's say get velocity 2D. And this is going to get our velocity every frame, get length, which is the amount of that vector. It's how big that vector is. And we're going to float compare. And if this length is, say, we'll say above 8, well actually we'll go 6. Big size, we'll say that. Then we are going to copy and paste it. Ba-doop. And ba-doop. Now over here, we don't want if it's bigger, we want if it's less. And use the same event, so it's now just back and forth based on our velocity. So what are we going to do? We are going to set bool value. Right, we're going to put this right at the top. So this is going to be our reached high speed. And this can be true. Copy that, bring it over here, paste it in here, and this can be false. I'm going to go over to here, and reached high speed can now be an output. Save this whole thing. Save template. A float to bool. and there's piles of other things that you could add on to it. You could build this thing right to the moon and back. Right, so now let's run FSM, float to bool, and we have this high speed. So let's take that and, well, okay, first let's test it. Let's make sure that's going to work first. Of course, I don't know if we actually hit the ever speed, so let's go speed this up. So we come up, oh, there we go. Now we're hitting that speed, so we're, see it's changing based on our speed.